The crimson landscape of Kepler 452b stretched out like a wounded canvas, its rocky terrain broken by jagged formations that cast long shadows under the distant binary suns. Research Station Omega stood as a tiny metallic beacon against the alien wilderness, its protective shields humming with a soft electrical pulse. 12-year-old Una Park pressed her hand against the transparent observation window, her breath creating a small fog on the glass. Unlike the seasoned researchers around her, she felt no fear. Her dark eyes tracked the massive creature moving in the distance, the legendary Shadow Claw, a predator that had become the stuff of nightmares for multiple alien research expeditions. The research team watched her carefully. Dr. Kim, her father, had warned her countless times about the dangers outside. The Shadow Claw is not like Earth animals, he would say. It's a living weapon of pure instinct and survival. But Una saw something different. Where others saw a monster, she saw a creature simply trying to exist in its harsh environment. The creature was enormous, at least 3 times the size of a human. Its body moved with a strange combination of grace and brutality. Scales that shifted between deep purple and midnight blue covered its muscular form. Multiple limbs moved in a synchronized rhythm, each ending in razor-sharp appendages that could slice through metal like paper. Other researchers in the station watched Una with a mixture of concern and curiosity. Alien scientists from 3 different planetary systems huddled near their monitoring equipment, their translators clicking and whirring as they discussed the potential risk of the young human's presence near the window. "She should not be here," muttered Ralk, a 6-limbed researcher from the Proxima Centauri research team. His translator converted his clicking language into broken English. "The Shadow Claw has destroyed entire research teams. One child means nothing." But Una remained calm. She noticed something the others didn't, a pattern in the creature's movement. It wasn't randomly wandering. It was hunting, but with a precision that suggested intelligence beyond simple predatory instinct. The station's environmental controls maintained a perfect temperature, but Una felt a strange warmth. Her hand, still pressed against the window, seemed to tingle with an unexplained energy. The Shadow Claw suddenly stopped moving, its massive head turning directly towards the research station. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. The alien researchers stopped their equipment monitoring. Dr. Kim's hand unconsciously moved towards the emergency containment protocols. But Una remained perfectly still, her breathing steady. The Shadow Claw's multiple eyes, each a different size and color, focused directly on her. Normally, such a gaze would send any living creature into panic. But Una felt no fear. Instead, she felt something else, a connection, an understanding that went beyond language or biological differences. Her father would later describe it as impossible. The alien researchers would spend years trying to understand what happened in those few moments, but for Una it was simple. She saw a creature, not a monster. The research station's artificial lights reflected off the Shadow Claw's scales, creating a mesmerizing display of color and movement. Its body tensed, muscles rippling beneath its extraordinary exterior. Every researcher expected an attack. Every monitoring system prepared for potential destruction. But nothing happened. The Shadow Claw simply watched. And Una watched back. In that moment, something extraordinary was happening. Something that would challenge everything known about interspecies communication, about predator and prey, about the very nature of intelligent life in the universe. No one in the research station knew it yet, but this moment would change everything. A young human girl and an alien predator were about to rewrite the rules of scientific understanding. And it all started with a simple look. The research station fell into an uncomfortable silence. Una's hand remained pressed against the window, her reflection ghostly against the alien landscape. Dr. Kim watched his daughter with a mixture of fear and confusion, his professional training battling with parental instinct. Ralk, the alien researcher, tapped his multiple communication devices. "Anomaly detected," his translator buzzed. "Human child showing unusual neurological response patterns." Suddenly, Una moved. Her movements were slow, deliberate, unlike the panicked reactions others might have shown. She walked towards the station's main airlock, her small hands moving. With a purpose that seemed beyond her years, the station's security systems came alive. Red warning lights began to pulse and automatic safety protocols initiated. But something was different. The computers seemed confused, unable to categorize the potential threat. "Stop!" Dr. Kim shouted, but his voice sounded distant, almost meaningless. Yuna's fingers moved across the airlock control panel. To everyone's surprise, the system responded. The heavy metal doors began to slide open, revealing the harsh landscape of Kepler 452b. The alien researchers scrambled. Monitoring equipment went crazy. Charts and graphs displayed impossible readings. The Shadow Claw remained motionless in the distance, its multiple eyes locked onto the small human figure. One step, then another. Yuna walked out of the station's protective environment. The alien atmosphere, toxic to most life forms, seemed to part around her. Her lightweight research suit, designed for observation, not direct contact, looked fragile against the massive rocky terrain. The Shadow Claw didn't move, didn't attack, just watched. Dr. Kim's hand hovered over the emergency communication button. Years of scientific training told him this was impossible. Years of being a father told him to protect his child. Rolk and the other alien researchers began recording. Their devices captured every microscopic detail, every breath, every movement. Yuna walked forward. The distance between her and the Shadow Claw gradually decreased. 10 meters, 8 meters, 6 meters. The creature's body language changed. Where before it showed potential for aggression, now it displayed something else. Curiosity, confusion. The alien researchers had no words to describe what their instruments were showing. Wind picked up, carrying strange mineral particles across the landscape. Yuna's hair moved slightly, her posture calm and steady. She showed no signs of fear, no indication that she recognized the danger. The Shadow Claw took a step forward, then another. Impossible readings continued to pour into the research station's computers. Biological interaction patterns that defied everything known about predator-prey relationships. Neurological responses that suggested communication beyond known scientific understanding. Dr. Kim's voice was a whisper. "What are you doing?" The words were meant for his daughter, but they seemed to float uselessly in the station's controlled atmosphere. Yuna continued walking. The Shadow Claw continued watching, 2 meters apart now, close enough to touch, close enough to destroy. The alien researchers held their collective breath. Their various respiratory systems seemed to pause, waiting for the inevitable moment of destruction. But destruction never came. Instead, something else happened, something that would challenge everything known about intelligent life in the universe. The Shadow Claw lowered its massive form, not in attack, not in preparation to strike, but in what could only be described as submission. Yuna took another step forward, and the universe watched. The silence was unlike anything the researchers had ever experienced. Yuna stood barely 2 meters from the Shadow Claw, her small frame dwarfed by the massive creature's overwhelming presence. Inside the research station, every instrument buzzed with confusion, displaying readings that made no scientific sense. Dr. Kim's hands trembled as he watched through the station's observation window. The alien researchers, Rolk and his colleagues, leaned forward, their multiple eyes wide with disbelief. Yuna began to hum. It was a simple melody, an old Korean lullaby her grandmother had taught her years ago on Earth. The sound was soft, almost fragile, carried by the thin alien wind across the rocky landscape. The Shadow Claw didn't move. Its multiple eyes, each a different color and size, remained fixed on the small human child. Where one would expect aggression, there was something else, something that looked remarkably like curiosity. The lullaby continued. Each note seemed to ripple across the alien terrain, creating invisible waves of sound that the research equipment couldn't measure. Ralk's translation devices went crazy, picking up complex emotional frequencies that defied standard communication protocols. Dr. Kim remembered teaching Yuna that song. Late nights on their research ship, her grandmother's voice echoing through their small living quarters. He never imagined that a childhood memory would become a potential first contact communication method. The Shadow Claw's body began to change. Its muscle groups, previously tense and ready for attack, started to relax. The razor-sharp appendages that could slice through metal softened their positioning. Something was happening that no scientific model could predict. Yuna took another, small step forward. The lullaby continued, her voice steady and calm. No fear, no tension. Just a simple, pure melody that seemed to connect with something deeper than biological instinct. Inside the research station, the monitoring equipment began to display extraordinary readings. Neurological patterns that suggested communication, happening at levels beyond known scientific understanding. Emotional frequencies that didn't match any known predator-prey interaction models. Rock's translator suddenly produced a strange sound, something between a gasp and a click. Impossible, it translated. Communication happening, but not through language, through emotion. The Shadow Claw lowered its massive head, not in submission, not in attack, but in a gesture that looked remarkably like listening. Yuna's lullaby reached a soft crescendo. The alien wind carried her voice across the crimson landscape, creating invisible bridges between two completely different forms of life. No one in the research station moved. No one breathed. The moment felt fragile, like a soap bubble that could burst with the slightest disturbance. The Shadow Claw's multiple eyes began to shift color, from aggressive reds and purples to softer blues and greens. The color changes happened faster than the monitoring equipment could track, creating a living, emotional display that defied all scientific understanding. Dr. Kim realized something profound was happening. This wasn't just an interaction between a human child and an alien predator. This was something else entirely. A communication that went beyond language, beyond biology, beyond everything they understood about intelligent life. Yuna's lullaby began to fade. Her voice, soft and pure, carried the last notes across the alien landscape. The Shadow Claw remained motionless, its body language suggesting something that looked remarkably like peace. The research station remained silent. Instruments continued to display impossible readings. Alien researchers looked at each other, their various communication devices unable to process what they had just witnessed. Something had changed, something fundamental, and it all started with a simple lullaby. The moment stretched like an invisible thread between Yuna and the Shadow Claw. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. The research station remained frozen, every breath held in collective disbelief. Dr. Kim watched as his daughter took another small step forward. The Shadow Claw, a creature known for destroying entire research teams, remained perfectly still. Its multiple eyes continued to change colors, a living display of what seemed like emotional response. Rolk, the alien researcher, whispered something in his native language. His translation device converted it to broken English. Impossible. Child-controlling predator. Not possible. But it was happening. Yuna's hand slowly moved forward. Her protective suit looked fragile against the massive creature. One wrong move could mean instant destruction. But she showed no fear, no hesitation. The Shadow Claw's massive form began to shift. Its multiple limbs, previously coiled with potential violence, now moved with surprising gentleness. Each movement, calculated, careful, almost protective. Inside the research station, monitoring equipment went crazy. Biological sensors couldn't understand what they were seeing. Emotional frequency detectors displayed patterns that didn't exist in any known scientific database. Dr. Kim's hand hovered over the emergency communication panel. Years of research told him this was impossible. Years of being a father told him to trust his daughter. Yuna's hand was now inches from the Shadow Claw's scaled surface. The creature's body temperature began to change. Thermal imaging showed a remarkable transformation, from aggressive heat signatures to something softer, almost nurturing. Thermal adaptation detected, one of the computer systems announced. Biological response inconsistent with predatory behavior. The alien researchers leaned closer to their monitoring screens. Ralph's multiple appendages moved rapidly across communication panels. "Recording everything," his translator buzzed. "Historical moment." Yuna's fingers touched the Shadow Claw's scaled surface. The moment seemed to pause. Time itself appeared, to hold its breath. Nothing happened. No attack. No violence. Just contact. The Shadow Claw's body responded in a way no one expected. Its massive form slowly lowered, creating a protective stance around the small human child. Where one would expect aggression, there was something else. Something that looked remarkably like understanding. Dr. Kim's scientific brain struggled to process what he was seeing. This wasn't just an interaction. This was communication beyond language, beyond biology, beyond everything they understood about intelligent life. The research station's communication systems began to light up. Signals bounced across multiple planetary networks. Something extraordinary was happening, and the entire galaxy would soon know. Yuna remained calm. Her hand still touched the Shadow Claw's surface, her breathing steady. No fear, no tension, just a pure, simple connection that defied all scientific understanding. Ralph's translator suddenly produced a strange sound. Emotional intelligence. It translated, detected at unprecedented levels. Human child demonstrating communication protocols beyond known scientific models. The Shadow Claw's multiple eyes continued their color dance. Blues, greens, soft purples. Each color change suggested an emotional response that no instrument could fully understand. Minutes passed. The protective stance remained. The connection continued. Dr. Kim realized something profound. This wasn't just a scientific discovery. This was a moment that would change everything humans understood about communication, about intelligence, about the potential for connection between different life forms. Yuna's hand remained in contact with the Shadow Claw. No words. No traditional communication. Just a pure, simple connection that spoke volumes without saying anything. The research station watched. The monitoring equipment recorded. The alien researchers documented. And in that moment, everything changed. The news spread, faster than light across galactic communication networks. A single image repeated on screens throughout known space. A small human child standing next to the most dangerous predator in the universe, completely unharmed. Governments panicked. Scientific communities went into overdrive. The Galactic Research Consortium called emergency meetings on multiple planetary systems. One 12-year-old girl had just rewritten everything they knew about interspecies communication. Dr. Kim found himself surrounded by hundreds of researchers, diplomats, and alien representatives. Cameras recorded every moment. Questions flew like rapid laser pulses. But the most important answer was simple. Yuna had done something impossible. The Shadow Claw never left Yuna's side. Where researchers expected aggression, they found protection. The creature moved with her, its massive form creating a living shield around the small human child. Tracking systems showed it would not allow any other living being to come within 10 meters of Yuna. Ralph's research team compiled their initial report. Emotional intelligence, the translation device announced, demonstrates unprecedented cross-species communication potential. Human subject demonstrates ability to establish contact beyond biological limitations. News networks across different planetary systems showed the same footage. The creature that had destroyed entire research teams now followed a child like a guardian. Political leaders demanded explanations. Scientific communities demanded research data. But Yuna remained unchanged. She continued her daily routine as if nothing extraordinary had happened. She would play near the research station. The Shadow Claw would watch, protect, respond to her smallest movements. Alien researchers discovered something remarkable. The Shadow Claw's brain patterns had changed. Where previous scans showed pure predatory instinct, new readings suggested complex emotional processing. Something had fundamentally transformed within the creature's neural network. Dr. Kim understood. Something deeper. This wasn't just a scientific discovery. This was a moment of pure human potential, a demonstration that connection could happen beyond language, beyond biology, beyond established scientific understanding. Diplomatic missions began arriving. Representatives from multiple planetary systems wanted to understand, to learn, to comprehend how a single human child had accomplished what decades of research could not. The Shadow Claw remained protective. Its multiple eyes continuously shifted colors, a living emotional display that no instrument could fully translate. When other researchers approached, it would position itself between them and Yuna, creating an impenetrable biological barrier. Yuna continued her simple interactions. She would sometimes sing, sometimes just sit quietly. The Shadow Claw would respond to her smallest gesture, its massive form moving with surprising gentleness. Research data suggested something profound. Emotional intelligence wasn't just a human trait. It was a universal potential waiting to be understood. Yuna had somehow unlocked a communication method that went beyond traditional scientific models. Galactic communication networks buzzed with speculation. How had she done it? What made her different? Scientists analyzed every possible angle: genetic scans, psychological profiles, environmental factors. But the answer remained beautifully simple. She had shown pure, unfiltered human connection. The Shadow Claw became more than a research subject. It became a symbol of potential, a living demonstration that understanding could happen beyond established scientific models. Dr. Kim watched his daughter with a mixture of pride and wonder. She had accomplished something no adult researcher could have predicted. She had shown that communication wasn't about complex technology or advanced scientific models. It was about connection, pure, simple, honest. As galactic representatives continued their discussions, Yuna sat quietly beside her massive guardian. Another lullaby escaped her lips. The Shadow Claw listened,